Have you ever wondered what drives someone to hold on to so many possessions and how those behaviours can affect their lives and relationships around them? Today on the podcast, I'm talking with Maire from Hoarding Unpacked, an expert with extensive experience of 13 years in the area. She delves into the complex world of hoarding behaviours and helps us understand the psychological roots, the impact on individuals and families, and paths to recovery. This conversation is a video recording that you can also watch on YouTube. Let's jump into this Simply Happy guest conversation. Today on Simply Happy Conversations, I'm talking with Maire, and she's from Hoarding Unpacked. Her experience with hoarding behaviours ranges from therapist, case manager, supervisor, and consultant. And she's an educator, a leading industry with training in the front line of staff and people like myself who are working with hoarding behaviours. And today I've asked her on because she's just an expert in it, and she's going to discuss some of the safety issues that arise in a home with hoarding behaviours. So welcome, Maire.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's very exciting. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, so I did do your training. I highly recommend it for anyone who is a frontline staff member. It's very thorough. And so I couldn't summarize this whole training. I needed you to come on because you can do such a great job. And I think I loved all your stories you shared. That's one of the things that helps to, I think, cement all the things that you were teaching us is through the stories. So maybe start and tell us, if you were a Barbie doll, what accessories would you come with that give us a bit of insight into the things you like to do?
I have these two beautiful punamus. They're like a green stone that I've found in the creek, and it's deeply connected to my whakapapa. And they are really important. They help ground me when I'm feeling a little bit unsettled or a bit shaky. So they're my grounding. So I think if I was running out of the house in a fire, well, I probably wouldn't need to grab them because I'd survive a fire, but I would probably grab them two things. That would be my most important.
Oh, beautiful. So maybe just touch on, because it's obviously Maori culture. Do you want to share a little bit? Because there'd be people going, what? Where? What's that mean?
Yeah. So greenstone, punamu is a type of greenstone that's found in Aotearoa, and it's very special and considered like a tonga, which is this kind of has a lot of meaning and depth passed down through ancestry, down through whakapapa. So there's these stories of resilience and this sharing, and it's very precious stone. And so normally there's these stories about where they came from. And when I had mine, the punamu or the greenstone that people wear all the time, that I had a couple, I gave them to my daughters, not because I didn't want them anymore, but because there's that manakitanga, that sharing, that gifting on. So the ones I have, I found them myself, which was very special. I'm Ngāi so Ngāi is the tribe in New Zealand or Aotearoa that has access to the greenstone. So it's very special for me.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. So why is educating like frontline workers and organisations that are working with hoarding behaviours important to you?
Yeah, I think being a frontline worker for so long and experiencing things like burnout and stress and overwhelm, I really had that passion about helping people understand and get clarity and get some direction of what they're working with. What happens is people come into the training and it's like, when they would make a referral, they might go, oh my gosh, you should see this place. I don't know how to explain it. And after the training, they've got all this new language and this kind of empathy and this direction. So for me, being a frontline worker for so long, it was about supporting other frontline workers in their journey.
Yeah, beautiful. And it is like that when you may start, the first time you may enter a house like that, but then once you've done your training and a little bit more understanding, I don't know, you don't see that it's the person and helping them with whatever it is that they need to work through themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what are the different types of hoarding behaviours? Or what is hoarding behaviour as well, I suppose, if you want to touch on that. And then there's the types of hoarding that you can see.
Yeah, so I guess it's this kind of incessant kind of gathering of items, and that can vary a lot. Like people can be compulsively buying or just collecting over the years. And what happens is the home is slowly filling up, and that behavior of buying can be around things like addiction and dopamine and hyperfixation around, neurodivergence, or it can be to feel better about life. You're having a shit life, you buy something new to make yourself feel better, or it's just this kind of people get a bit like doing collections, like going to the op shops and buying books, or sometimes it's that scarcity, feeling like there's not enough in the world. So I'm just going to click, 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 click and squirrel away. And there's a scarcity mindset. There's lots of different reasons why someone could be doing it. But what happens essentially with hoarding disorder or hoarding behaviours is it becomes problematic in that it slowly fills the home up. And the person living with the condition or the behaviours may not kind of realise. They might have like a clutter blindness, so they might not kind of realise over time how intrusive the stuff is in their home. But typically there is a coupled with the collection is the difficulty discarding the objects. So it's the kind of three things. It's the collection of objects, the difficulty discarding with the objects, and the intrusiveness of the objects on the person's living environment.
Yeah, yes. And that three together
Yeah.
is where you see that acquiring as well, because you might lose one of the things, but it's like all three combined together, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what are some of the like visible and invisible signs then of hoarding behaviors?
Yeah, so the visibility is the clutter, the stuff, the chaos, the mess, whatever that person wants to call it, which could range. And it's our job as frontline workers to use their language. And so that's what we're seeing. We can sometimes see the breakdown, the stress, the sometimes with maybe not so much in the decluttering and the organising spaces, because that's normally private people inviting you into their home, but in tenancy, at-risk tenancies and stuff, there's people that don't want you there, so there can be a lot of pushback on services. So yeah, I guess underneath what we're not seeing is the reasons why people are hoarding. Is it complicated grief? Is it OCD? Is it intrusive thoughts and beliefs about the stuff, like all the underneath stuff? Is it the trauma triggered, which is not that uncommon, where someone's had maybe a home invasion and they've started fortifying their house after that, or possibly triggered from childhood trauma and they're fortifying. So we don't see all that stuff when we walk in. All we see is the intrusive items and the impact on the person.
Yeah, and it's interesting until you start working with someone as well to understand the different items and the importance they put on certain items, because it could be that it's like used to make creative things is what I've seen to find a lot of. So it might be like down to tea bags. We're keeping them to use to dye, which is amazing, or avocado seeds. Whereas, something like an old toy, it's like, oh no, I don't need that, but I do need this. So it's not until you work with the person that you can find out those stories, isn't it, as to why and what they're collecting or keeping.
Yeah, and same with recycling.
Oh, yes.
There can be like this kind of neurosis about recycling. So seeing people with a tea bag that needs to take the staple out separate to the string, separate to the tag, separate to the tea bag, and all these things. And there becomes this kind of neurosis that becomes actually really stressful and overwhelming in their life, where they're wanting to recycle so extremely that it takes up so much and makes so much stress on them.
I'd say that is one of the biggest things that I'm seeing in our area in Geelong in particular, but also within professional organising, is that's around the recycling and the environment.
And what's behind that? And there's a sense of identity. Like, I can't stop what's happening in the world, but at home I can be eco and I can be environmentally friendly by being really good at recycling. So it's almost like taking control of this imploding kind of world with these weather systems and this stuff that's happening. And yeah, so it is a really interesting thing where people are taking that on as the thing I'm doing to help. So there's these good intentions behind it, but it's not functional.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. Well, that's where I've come in to actually try and create some function around it and actually have a system that maybe can reduce the stress and finding places to actually take the items to as well to help, because they know that they can recycle it, but they're not sure where it can go. So just keeping it within the home until they find out. So what about some of the misconceptions then people have around hoarding behaviours?
Yeah, what's really sad is when you see like an adult child and they, might hear a story like, oh, well, we don't visit mum anymore because she chose her rubbish over her grandkids, and they've stopped it. The intolerance around it and people not realizing it's actually a diagnosable mental health condition, and it's really complicated. And it's kind of like people just thinking, oh, they've just got to chuck it out. And essentially, yes, but that's a really long journey that needs a lot of understanding and time and care. And so it's like telling someone with anxiety not to worry about it, or someone with depression just to have positive thoughts, or someone with a broken leg just to run on it. Similar with hoarding disorder, we don't tell, it's not just to chuck it out. We have to understand the meaning behind the behaviours so we can help them learn new ways of thinking and feeling and behaving.
Yeah,
So that's
that's
the biggest, the intolerance, and that people are just lazy. Like it's,
yes, yeah. And just throwing it out. It's that word, isn't it? Just throw it out.
yeah,
It's not that simple. If they could, they would have by now, wouldn't they?
yeah.
So what about some of the safety concerns that obviously hoarding behavior, that is why possibly, your external case managers and other people have got involved within the situation with the family
Yeah,
or the home.
it's a big issue, and there's quite a few different areas. If we think about wet hoarding or squalor, we're thinking about things like air quality, mold, feces, wet environments that are rotting floorboards. We're thinking about really unsanitary conditions for food, people getting sick a lot of the time, and also toilet facilities that don't function, showering facilities that don't work, so people unable to bath themselves or wash themselves, people unable to use the toilet for intended purposes, people unable to eat out of their own kitchens. And so that's at that more higher level of what is called squalor. But squalor and hoarding aren't always cleanly linked. Because hoarding needs the amount of stuff to be big, whereas squalor can be a small amount of stuff, but it can still be squalid. And squalid's got quite a lot of different considerations behind it. So squalid environments, yes, and pest infestations and things like skin irritations and rashes and things like that come with that. And then if we move away from that into things like just property care in general, and the amount of stuff and in the home, that and things that in Australia where they're filling up underneath the house and they can't check for white ants anymore, or but there's more, there's so many layers of trip hazards. But then we go into the fire safety, which is a really big issue. And what we're seeing is that the exits are blocked, and there's no easy walkways to escape if you need to from a fire. You've got to climb over stuff, so people are tripping, and that's when people are actually dying in hoarding households. They can't get out, and the fire and emergency services can't get in. And so that's why the fire and emergency services, fire and rescue services, are so concerned about hoarding. What the stuff is considered fuel load, essentially, and when we've got someone that's got lots of stuff, that's a massive fuel load. So the fire is going to burn that much quicker, that much hotter, and that much more dangerous for neighbours and people inside the home. So we've got the fire stuff as well. Which is flammable items, the amount of items, exits and entries and hallways that emergency services can't get down. Air quality is a big thing, though, even if it might not be squalid. But the air quality for me, I've definitely been in places where I get quite bad migraines. So I always ask people to open doors and windows when I'm coming, and I'll make it about me and my sensitivity. It's not about you, and I'm not judging you. I'm just really sensitive. I'm sorry, I'm such a pain in the ass, but can you open doors and windows before I come? Because I get really bad migraines, and people are really happy to do that normally. Again, that's the part of the shame and social isolation about the disorder is shutting the windows and the curtains and not letting the world
Yes.
in. So they're going to shut everything up. And then there's that thick air, it's thick with particles, and we're going in and having impacted by that. But they get used to it over time and don't notice maybe.
Yeah. And I suppose it's like that dust, having dust, and then the moisture forms the mold, which makes the problem even worse as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Mold and the impact on lungs is just, that's
It's huge. And I think it's the lack of understanding around mold, isn't it, within homes, and how to prevent that.
Yeah.
Which people maybe don't understand or haven't heard from their childhood and have grown up. Again, I suppose, do you see a lot of this with it's like families and generational?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think the statistics are kind of a little bit, there's not heaps of stats and stuff there, but what I understand, it's about 50% of people who've grown up in a hoarding household have hoarding tendencies. Actually, it's almost the opposite. That either the 50% of people that do it, or the other 50% of people that are like almost OCD cleaners because they grew up in it and they can't stand it and they never want to be like that. So there's definitely a link, not necessarily genetically, but more like the environment and what felt normal. And I learned the same behaviours as my parents because I watched them buy and collect and buy and collect. Yeah.
And I suppose getting that those values of scarcity, isn't it? That we need to keep everything because you don't know what's going to happen or around the corner.
Yeah.
And so, and even, sorry.
Or keep things because we feel guilty for chucking them out. So my mum died, everything in her house got boxed up and brought to my house. I've got complicated grief, so I can't go through the boxes and get rid of anything. So I'm going to live in this restricted environment with all my mum's stuff, but I can't chuck it out because it would be disrespectful to our relationship. So people have these weird links between, a friend gave me this. If I chuck that out, it would be dishonoring my friendship. Some people have that. It's so complicated. There's so many.
It is a lot more complicated than just going in and cleaning and organizing someone's house, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even like the low level things, there's always a story and a reason for someone keeping something. And you can't just, I never just assume that a piece of paper on the ground is rubbish. Until you've established that relationship with someone and understand their values, you can't make a judgment on or make a decision about any piece of paper or anything, can you?
Yeah. And it's that fine line between finding the edge.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is when they're coming to you, they're wanting change. And so that's very different to a lot of the other staff members that come through the training where they're imposing themselves because of tenancy or because of fire risk or because of whatever. But it's always, it's really important to keep assessing motivation and back into why they're wanting to change and understanding and having that conversation that we are going to be at these pointy times where there's going to be times where I'm pushing you and I've got to do it enough where it's not feeling unsafe. But so we're actually creating change for what is comfortable, because what is comfortable is not working and we're wanting to go to a different place. And we've got to find a dynamic there where we're just kind of moving forward, and it's going to be a bit of discomfort sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah. And I think that's what's really important around your training, because I find I don't just have, like, say, NDIS or people, independents coming to me. There's also, your family services and referrals. And that's when you there's a different reason, like they're being forced to have someone come into their home to make changes that maybe they're not quite ready for. And it's definitely finding that
happy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got to jump through the hoops to keep the agency happy. We're jumping through the hoops to keep your tenancy. We're jumping through your hoops to keep your children. We're jumping through your hoops to keep your animals. Like we haven't even touched on animal hoarding.
Oh no, we didn't.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So what would be some things, or one or two things that we could do to support a family member, or maybe it's a friend who you're seeing, that you can help them around their hoarding behaviours?
Yeah. One is just taking the time to let them know that you're not a threat. So a lot of people are very weary. They've had people coming in and doing forced cleanups. They've got people disapproving of them. They've got all this. So that they need to know that you're actually not judging them and stuff like that. But secondly, there's a really interesting technique that I use with my clients, which is the incoming and outgoing. And every week I work with my clients about what's come in and what's coming out. And when we're trying to reduce stuff, more has to go out than coming in. And then when we get to the good place where the home environment's safe, then we can have that equally. And over time, that neurological pathway, that new behavior pattern builds. And it's amazing how long-term clients they automatically know that they want this new thing, but they've got to get rid of something just as big first, and so it all becomes about that, and it feels like a nicer process.
Yeah, definitely. And I've used that with one particular client of mine, and she loves it. She has things ready going, this is going because I know I've acquired more art, things that I need. So there's already the box for you to take away with you, which I think is so fantastic, because she feels really good about it as well herself.
Yeah.
So what about the community? What can community people do to support other people? Maybe it's a neighbour or someone in your local area as well.
Yeah, I think having understanding, but I think also community members, you do also have a right to this does affect you. And if you're next door to someone with a chronic hoarding disorder, the chances of that house catching a light is higher than normal, and it's more impacting on your safety as well. So I get that people get upset and frustrated, but understand that it's complicated and this person probably needs some kind of levels of support. And I think the industry is still catching up that, we really want to be working with these people. 2 years is great. That's my recommendation, to do that long-lasting change of behaviour that settles in. That's the long-term outcome. I mean, sometimes we've only got 3 months or we've only got 6 months, depending on funding or whatever, but it's very rare that behaviour will be properly integrated into their new life. So that longevity is important. Yeah.
And that's, you just touched on that. It's like, that's what I find when I'm brought in with family services. It's like, you've got a month. And it's how am I going to get change within a month? That's just not going to be, that's not realistic, is it?
Yeah, it's kind of like band-aiding, just
yes.
a little bit so we can say it's done. That skip bins and
yes.
like, it's heaps better to have extra wheelie bins for people, like an extra bin a week, so they can fill that up. But having a skip bin is just the worst thing, unless it's 9 months down the track and you've got a huge pile of stuff ready to go in it. Don't do skip bins.
That is one of my things. It's like, let's make a pile and we can try and put it into, like, our local councillor, fantastic, and come and collect it from your home. And if we need more, we'll use the next one. And then if we really need to, then we'll get the skip bin. But let's not just get the skip bin, because that is definitely the first answer, isn't it, for some of these businesses?
Yeah, and then the neighbours fill it up and then they take the stuff out.
Yes, exactly.
With more. So skip bin, and it's just too big and too confronting and too scary, and it's too quick. And we're working with a deeply embodied disorder. That's just, it's not cognitive, it's not rational. We're talking about the body, and the body needing time to adjust. Our emotional body works a lot slower than our cognitive brain.
Yes, definitely. So how can people connect with you?
Okay, so my website is hoardingunpacked.com, and I offer supervision services for frontline workers and training program. I'm just about to come back over to Australia and do Melbourne, and then I'll be doing Canberra, Sydney later in the year. And I think this year, I just did my tax yesterday. I think I did about 23 trainings last year across Australia and New Zealand, and a few online ones. I try and go out as much as I can, because I know how much I appreciate the face-to-face training, but I do run the online just in case. So just go through my website. I am on Facebook as well. It's just kind of a cruisy one. And there is a peer support Facebook group, except I can't remember the name. It's like Australia and New Zealand hoarding disorder.
Yeah. We can put the link in there anyway. Yeah.
Sorry, that was very unprofessional.
Oh, no, that's all right. I wouldn't have remembered it either. And I'm in it. Thank you so much. And I highly recommend that training. It is absolutely fantastic. And I just think, definitely, obviously in 20 minutes, we can't cover all the stories, but the stories you share and your experience with working with people is, I think, what makes it stand out. It's not just a training of like, here's all the facts. It's the stories that really make your training.
Yeah, it's on the ground, hey, and how it
Yeah,
works on the ground. Yeah, very.
definitely.
Thank you so much. I really
Oh,
appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.
thank you for sharing all your knowledge and some tips as well for families and friends. Thank you for joining me for today's Simply Happy conversation. Do you have nothing to wear but a wardrobe full of clothes? Imagine mornings when you jump up, choose outfits that reflect your best self. A comprehensive guide walks you through each step to help you create a wardrobe that's both functional, organised and full of clothes you love. Head to simplyhappy.com.au to the resources tab to get instant access today. I'd like to acknowledge the Wathaurong people of the Kulin Nation on which this podcast is recorded as the traditional custodians of the land. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.